I couldn't be more excited to be here. I want to thank everyone who joined today for the live presentation of the revolution, the Nutrition for Mental Health revolution. And if you're here, you're a part of it. It's such an exciting time to see a paradigm shift in the nutrition space. I'm going to talk about the paradigm shift today. I'm going to start with some definitions, give you a little bit of the state of the evidence linking nutrition to mental health. I'm going to talk specifically about depression and depressive symptoms for a few minutes, and we're going to transition to talking about the app. I'm going to show you the Wise Mind Nutrition Framework and the app, and it's something I've been working on for 18 months, nights and weekends. All my energy has gone into creating a program and a food log that can be used by you, your friends, your loved ones, your colleagues, your clients. And we're about to launch. So today is a celebration, launching the Wise Mind Nutrition app. I do want to state that I don't have any particular agendas with respect to nutrition. I'm not here trying to convert you to eating a certain way. I don't have a particular way of eating that I stand by. The essence of Wise Mind Nutrition is to help you find your own nutritional identity. I do think that our own personal ways of eating can bias our perspectives. And so I've added this slide recently because I think it's important that you know who I am and how I roll. I'm from West LA. I did my undergrad at USC. I have a bachelor's in social science. I did a master's degree at Cal State Northridge, where I became a registered dietitian. My master's thesis was called Nutrition and Substance Abuse. So early on, I've always been interested in the intersection between nutrition and mental health. I started off working a lot with addictions. I founded Nutrition and Recovery in 2013. This is our group practice, several dietitians that work in mental health settings. I eventually went ahead to do my doctorate from UCLA in the School of Public Health with a minor in health psychology. I did a dissertation on early life trauma. Very proud to be affiliated with the Institute of Functional Medicine, which has definitely informed some of the work here with Wise Mind Nutrition. And I've made some contributions to the peer-reviewed scholarly literature, and I'm always happy to share some of my writings with you if you're interested. So what is Wise Mind? This is a term that became popular with DBT, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. It's a very growing type of therapy that really focuses on dialectical thinking. Dialectical encourages us to think in a both and rather than either or way. So instead of thinking of things in binary, we think about things with a wide range of possibilities. So this replaces rigid dichotomous thinking. In DBT, there's the reasonable mind. This is the cool, rational, task-focused mind, and the emotional mind, which is hot, mood dependent, and emotion focused. Now, the wise mind is about seeing the value of both. It's about thinking in terms of systems. A perfect example of a system is the gut and the brain, thinking about how these are linked bidirectionally. And the wise mind is really about acknowledging the middle path. I've seen a lot of physical health interventions, dietary interventions that compromise mental health. And I've always been interested, how can we promote physical health and mental health at the same time? The wise mind is also about finding a middle path between diet and non-diet ways. I think it's safe to say that diet's become a pretty dirty word these days. It's actually in the title of my credential as a dietitian. We have to deal with this word diet all the time. It has been linked to, restriction and a lot of food negative, food punitive energy. And, a diet approach can be defined as a targeted manipulation of one's food intake to achieve a desired outcome. Diet culture is when things sort of go awry. It's this idea that controlling your body, particularly your diet, is normative behavior. And then we have this non-diet revolution, which is incredible and that I'm a part of. It's more weight neutral, body positive, and non-stigmatizing. But I think it's safe to say that while diet culture has gone too far, there are many people that say the non-diet movement has gone too far by making it feel like anything that's promoting health is diet culture. And I've taken the position that there is a wise mind, there is a middle path, there is a way to teach people how to be deliberate and intentional about food without having it carry diet culture energy. The World Health Organization defines mental health as more than the absence of mental disorders. It's a state of well-being that enables people to cope with the stresses of life, realize their abilities, learn well, work well, and contribute to the community. It is determined by a complex interplay of individual, social, and structural stresses and vulnerability. And the WHO has identified that the need for action on mental health is indisputable and urgent. And that's what Wise Mind Nutrition was created to really start to bring the nutrition conversation into the mental health conversation. I've identified 3 major areas linking nutrition for mental health. The first is the most obvious. These are nutrients that support brain health. This could be direct or indirect. So for example, omega-3 has a direct role in the brain. Omega-3 is part of the cell membranes that contribute to neurotransmission. So it has a direct role in supporting brain health. There's a lot of other vitamins and minerals that have indirect roles. In other words, they're considered cofactors for a wide range of biological processes. So we know that when some vitamins and minerals become deficient, it has been associated with a wide range of negative mental health outcomes. We also have gut health. Most people, I think if you're here, you probably know about the second brain, right? We're talking about the gut as an organ. And there's multiple pathways that connect the gut and the brain. That's why we call it bidirectional gut-brain axis. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. But a big part of Wise Mind Nutrition is also how we think about food and body, the language we use, the energy we use. There's this emerging field called nutritional psychology, which I'm going to touch on. This also thinks about how stress, trauma, and adversity can affect our body and affect our food choices, and how body image plays a role in this picture. Nutritional psychology is a multidisciplinary biopsychosocial approach that intersects psychological, behavioral, gastrointestinal, neurological, and nutritional sciences. It's really exciting. It doesn't just look at the individual. It takes everything into the larger context of society, thinking about weight stigma, diet culture, all the things that inform one's cognitive processes around food. And then we have nutritional psychiatry, a very hot topic, growing field. This is more focused on biomarkers, a lot of functional lab testing to understand causes and consequences of brain health and behavioral health disorders. So it's very mechanistic. We look at labs often, and nutritional psychiatry is an effort to combine conventional medicine with nutraceutical approaches. And just to give you one example, augmenting an SSRI with folate, zinc, and omega-3, right? Which is something that in a perfect world, a nutritionist and a psychiatrist would work together on. We've come to a point where we have these two fields that are converging, and we're trying to figure out who's going to do the work. And we need more people at this intersection area. The gut-brain axis has multiple pathways of communication. For example, the autonomic nervous system, which includes the vagus nerve. This is a nerve that connects the back of the brainstem to the various organ systems. Of particular interest is the enteric nervous system, which is throughout the gastrointestinal tract. We have the neuroendocrine system, which includes the HPA axis. This is responsible for the output of cortisol and related to stress-related disorders in humans. And then most people are aware that neurotransmitters can be produced by gut bacteria. This is an emerging term called postbiotics. Most people are aware of probiotics, which is the bacteria, the prebiotics, which we're going to talk about today, the fibers, and then we have the postbiotics, things like short-chain fatty acids, which are anti-inflammatory, precursors to hormones, have a wide range of implications throughout the body systems. And then I've been obsessed with the immune system. This is how inflammatory cascades travel throughout the body. We've learned that a lot of inflammation starts in the gut, can travel throughout the periphery, and now we know that inflammatory signals can cross the blood-brain barrier. So we're going to talk about leaky gut and leaky brain a little bit today. So this conversation that we're having, and thank you for being a part of it, this conversation about nutrition for mental health is much less accepted in the US compared to other parts of the world. So in Australia, there's a lot of important work being done. This was an editorial from a journal last year that says mental health is every dietitian's business. The UK is doing some incredible work. A lot of the micronutrient studies have come out of the UK. Canada, Parts of South America have made considerable effort linking ultra-processed foods to mental health. But I think here in the US, it's safe to say that this is a slow-moving effort. I also want to acknowledge lifestyle medicine, which takes 6 pillars of health: a whole food, plant predominant eating pattern, physical activity, restorative sleep, which most people understand as the 3 pillars of health. And then we have stress management, avoidance of risky substances, and positive social connections. All of these pillars are built into Wise Mind Nutrition to help people move toward wellness using not only nutrition, but lifestyle medicine. I share this just to give you a overarching view of the landscape about nutrition for mental health. This is a rapid review of reviews, so it just looks at all the literature from a very broad perspective. The authors concluded that dietary intervention is important in the treatment of mental health, but most of the studies are using supplements. So when you look at the actual data for substance use disorders, depression, anxiety, it's mostly supplement studies, okay? And this lends itself to a very reductionistic way of looking at nutrition. Reductionism aims to describe complex phenomenon in terms of their individual parts, and it's no one's fault. In order to do controlled trials, nutrition trials, you need to have controls in place, and using supplements is way easier than using food. But it turns out that there's something about food that works differently than supplements, and this is due to food synergy, the non-random mixture of food constituents that operate in concert to confer health benefits over time. So in other words, you couldn't take a raspberry and isolate the fibers, isolate the vitamins, and isolate the polyphenols and take them separately as supplements and expect it to perform as well as the raspberry would. So I always remind people that the active ingredient in raspberry is raspberry, right? So when it comes to nutrition interventions, most practitioners rely on supplements. I tend to use supplements and recommend supplements. They're very helpful. It's a big part of the work that I do clinically, but I think it's safe to say that most people rely on these because changing people's eating patterns is hard. It's a difficult thing to do. Practitioners are frustrated. It's so much easier just to rely on supplement-based recommendations. But having worked in this field for 10 plus years, I do believe that it's possible to change the way we eat, and it requires steps. It's not just, oh, go from A to Z, go from A to B, B to C, C to D. And Wise Mind Nutrition was designed to show you what are the steps to go from where you are to where you intend to be. And that's the beauty of the program. It's about you setting your own intentions and moving at a pace that feels appropriate for you. I learned in statistics, one of the most profound things I ever learned in studying statistics was that all models are wrong, but some of them are useful. So no single model is going to capture all the truth. I'm going to walk through some of the models, the frameworks, I'll call them, and give you a historical recap that brings us to where we are today. The calorie model is the most kind of predominant way of looking at nutrition. This is about calories in, calories out, energy balance. It did help put nutrition on the map as a harder science, but there's a lot of shortcomings with this approach, and we'll touch on that today. When I was studying to be a dietitian, there was this really popular phrase that was floating around the internet. It was, if it fits in your macros. And this is when the macronutrient model became really popular. I think the primary assumption was it didn't really matter what you ate as long as you hit your macro targets. And this is a very fitness-oriented way of approaching nutrition. I'm a big believer in macronutrients, and the program talks about the pros and cons of using this model. But I also think this model is incomplete. The micronutrient model emerged based on the assumption that the food doesn't contain the nutrients that it once did. The soil's depleted, and we need to take a lot of supplements. Once again, I do believe in supplements, but I have learned, and this is based on what we know about the gut health, that supplements don't do for your gut bacteria what food can do. And that's why food is so important. And that's why Wise Mind Nutrition is food first. There's a food group model. An example is My Plate. Just to give you an example, I don't use My Plate. I don't really use United States government issued nutrition recommendations as a whole, but I like food group models. I like food groups because I think it's a very easy way to think about food. And I'm going to cover for you today the Wise Mind Nutrition food group system. We have the anti-inflammatory model of eating. In the early 2000s, the dietary inflammatory index was developed. This mapped out the anti-inflammatory potential of various foods. And I think it was safe to say that, people that have pro-inflammatory conditions could benefit from eating more anti-inflammatory foods. We've now learned that people aren't populations and that everyone's different. And some people can have a inflammatory response to foods that might be considered anti-inflammatory at the population level. And then the gut health model. This is where everything has gone in the last few years. It's also an anti-inflammatory model, but it looks at the role of gastrointestinal bacteria and the intestinal lining. We call it intestinal permeability as part of the inflammatory cascade. We have personalized nutrition, which looks at testing. So I do a lot of testing with blood and urine and stool and saliva to really figure out what might be best for the individual. And then this new model, the nutrition for mental health model, it brings it all together. It challenges some of the assumptions about calories and macronutrients, and it brings in the gut stuff, the functional medicine stuff. And you created my own food group system that I hope you will appreciate as I present today. But in a nutshell, Wise Mind Nutrition, the nutrition for mental health revolution is really designed to help people move beyond just quantitative approaches to nutrition, going beyond just thinking in terms of calories and macros and using fitness trackers and looking at body weight and percent body fat as the only outcome, and starting to think about more qualitative outcomes, things like mood, your outlook, your energy levels, your vibrancy, relational health, quality of life. And this is really what nutrition has potential for that is currently being overlooked. The program is eating disorder informed. A lot of the work that I've done clinically over the last 10 years has been with people across the spectrum of disordered eating. And I have learned how to create nutrition messaging that's safe. In other words, it's not triggering. We avoid words like diet. There isn't focus on weight and weight changes. Generally discourages math-centric approaches. It encourages getting your hands dirty, going grocery shopping, doing some cooking, mindful eating, soulful eating. We're not shy about bringing spirituality into the kitchen and onto the plate. We have a hunger fullness scale that I'll share with you today. Wise Mind Nutrition encourages consistency and variety. So a big part of what we're doing is trying to help people achieve more variety. It focuses on what to include rather than what to avoid. And it encourages sanity over vanity, always promoting positive body image. The program is also trauma informed, which means that it recognizes the potential impact of adversity on biological systems. It acknowledges that health is not always simply a matter of choice. There are biological factors, structural factors that impact our life choices and chances. It acknowledges that much of the trauma that's out there in the world isn't even understood as being traumatic. This is what we sometimes call complex trauma or relational trauma. Also thinks about historical and systemic trauma. Trauma-informed nutrition aims to avoid shaming, stigmatizing, and blaming, and it does recognize how triggering nutrition can be. Trauma-informed nutrition is strength-focused, and it promotes resilience, inspiring healing through trust and safety. Now, one of the hot areas of contention and debate in the field right now is this term ultra-processed food. I think it was pretty vague for many years, but it has recently been classified by the NOVA system, which has 4 categories of foods: unprocessed, minimally processed. Number 2 is processed culinary ingredients. 3 is processed foods. And then finally, we have ultra-processed foods, which are usually a combination of culinary ingredients, typically manufactured by a series of industrial practices, things like sodas and snack cakes. And it turns out from recent evidence that more than half of the calories in the US do come from ultra-processed foods. Now, just to report on the literature, and this is, a responsibility that I have as a scientist, we know that ultra-processed foods is consistently linked to poor mental health outcomes, most specifically depression, anxiety, a host of other adverse health outcomes, and of course, all-cause mortality. Recently, a prospective cohort from the UK Biobank study. So once again, just pointing out this work that's happening in the UK. This kind of research is not being seen so much here in the US, but this was over 70,000 participants. And in this follow-up study, a higher consumption of ultra-processed foods was associated with a higher risk of dementia. And the converse was also true. People that substituted unprocessed or minimally processed foods was associated with a lower risk of dementia. So these are powerful findings, and I do feel a responsibility to let people know that there is research being done on ultra-processed food consumption and mental health. The question really becomes, how can we move people toward eating more whole foods without triggering disordered ways of thinking and obsessional thinking patterns, right? And that's really the essence of Wise Mind Nutrition. It's also important to acknowledge that people out there in the world are reading headlines about this stuff, and it's important to talk about. Wise Mind Nutrition is about addressing all the uncomfortable stuff head on. We're talking about biology, we're talking about psychology, and we're talking about the social context. We're going to transition into a discussion around depression. I'm going to cover some of the biology and then move to the nutrition interventions. The monoamine hypothesis has been the primary basis for antidepressant medications. These are the SSRIs. It assumes that depression is based on serotonin, which we'll talk about. We have the HPA axis, which we mentioned is responsible for the stress response, inflammation, the hot topic that I'm going to cover a little bit more. And then we have brain changes that we can measure through neuroimaging, neuroplasticity, neurogenesis, genetics, epigenetics. There's a wide range of biological systems that contribute to depression and depressive symptoms. This was huge. This came out last year. This was a systematic review in the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry, looked at all the available evidence linking serotonin to depression, and the authors concluded that the main areas of serotonin research provide no consistent evidence of there being an association between serotonin and depression, and no support for the hypothesis that depression is caused by lowered serotonin activity or concentrations. And this is big because we know that a lot of people don't respond well to SSRIs. It's not to say that some people don't have a serotonin-based phenotype of depression, but I think it's being shown and is becoming more and more obvious that there are other causes of depression. There are other phenotypes of depression that are rooted more so in inflammatory processes and responsive to nutrition intervention. When it comes to nutrition and depression, we know that it's bidirectional, which means that in the short term, highly palatable foods, what some people refer to as ultra-processed foods, make negative emotions go away. We also know that these highly processed foods increase depressive symptoms. So this is where something becomes cyclical and bidirectional. We know from longitudinal studies that ultra-processed food increases the risk of developing depression over time. And there are several studies showing that the Mediterranean diet reduces depressive symptoms. And this was a recent systematic review from, again, some of the work contributing from Australia that looked at all of the randomized controlled trials linking dietary interventions with depression. I do want to highlight that these studies were not weight loss studies. These were studies that were specifically targeting depressive symptoms. And out of the 7 studies, all 7 found positive outcomes, statistically significant changes. These were diets that promote fresh produce, whole grains, lean protein, and also decrease the intake of ultra-processed foods. So let's talk about depression and diet. What are some of the potential mechanisms? Gut bacteria plays a role in everything, so it's no shock that this is at the top of the list. We have these microbes that colonize the gastrointestinal tract. We still have such a long way to go before we can really figure out what they all mean, but we're starting to detect some patterns. My interest is in gut bacteria and the inflammatory cascade, which is also related to oxidative stress. We have mitochondrial dysfunction, which is responsible for energy production, is getting a lot of attention in research, particularly as it relates to depressive symptoms. BDNF is related to synaptic plasticity. A lot of people refer to this as miracle grow for the brain. And then lastly, we have this tryptophan kynurenine metabolism. And I don't want to get lost in the weeds today, but I want to show you a recent paper. And I'm sharing this because a lot of people in the mental health nutrition space ask about amino acid therapy. I think there's great interest in understanding that amino acids are precursors to neurotransmitters. We also know that some of this conversion happens in the gut rather than the brain. But I just want to highlight that not all tryptophan that we take becomes serotonin. There are actually other pathways for tryptophan, for example, the kynurenine pathway. And this is modulated by gut bacteria. So it's not just the raw material that someone takes. that affects the biological cascade. It's also the ecosystem in our gut where these transformations happen, okay? So I've never been huge on high dose amino acids unless it's indicated by functional lab testing that would be important. But yeah, we've learned a little bit more about tryptophan and serotonin. Starting over here on the left, we have the HPA axis. We mentioned the output of cortisol, which can eventually lead to glucocorticoid resistance and create pro-inflammatory states. We know that cytokines can travel throughout the periphery to the brain. The microglia is immune cells at the blood-brain barrier. And we know that if there's inflammatory signaling, the pathway from tryptophan to serotonin can be decreased, whereas the pathway from tryptophan to kynurenine can be increased. And this can lead to quinolinic acid, which we know is neuroinflammatory. So I've been really excited doing functional lab testing with people, trying to look at some of these markers, lactic acid, succinic acid. There's some really sophisticated tests which can start to point to biological markers of depression and other mental health symptoms. Today, we're focused on depression. I'm planning to do these webinars regularly. So in future months, I'll really circle back to some of the other mental health conditions and give some emphasis on ADHD, anxiety, substance use disorders, and more. So here we are. We've covered the HPA axis, oxidative stress. I've given you some very brief introduction on inflammation, the gut microbiota, epigenetic change, which is modification of the expression of genes. And we know that components of healthy eating are pleiotropic. They have more than one effect. And, the established components of Mediterranean style eating, anti-inflammatory eating include a high amount of phytochemicals or phytonutrients, lots of vitamins and minerals, the right kinds of fats, polyunsaturated fatty acids, monounsaturated fatty acids, which, come from, we have for poly, fatty fish, walnuts, chia seeds, flax seeds. Monounsaturated fats are associated with nuts and olives. A lot of the components of Mediterranean style eating. And high fiber. I've been a big proponent of high fiber for many years. And I'm just going to go ahead and say that when you look at a diagram like this and you think of all these potential pathways, if someone were to do one of these things on the left, like take a phytonutrient supplement or a multivitamin or an omega-3 pill or a fiber supplement, I'm not convinced that it would move the needle on depressive symptoms. It's not sufficient. The biology of depression is strong. But what I will say is that if someone does all of these things and does them consistently and with patience and with intention, it is very likely that we can alter physiology in a way that promotes recovery from depression and depressive symptoms. I do want to acknowledge that major depressive disorder is not just about nutrition, okay? There are biological, psychosocial, cultural factors, but in the scientific literature, we are coming to consensus that clinical management of major depression should include nutrition, okay? As I mentioned, omega-3s, dietary fibers, vitamins, minerals, polyphenols, and of course, I think it's safe to say that protein is very important as well. But once again, I want to emphasize that the benefits of nutrition intervention for mental health are not immediate. These are things that are observed long-term. So we're not talking about days and weeks, we're talking about months and years. I've always been focused on increasing fiber, unless of course someone's eating too much. And I've always been focused on getting it from food rather than supplements. Fiber comes in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, beans, nuts, and seeds. We do want to try to emphasize some raw versions whenever possible. I recommend eating a wide range of plant foods on a daily basis, trying to get some sort of a plant at every meal or snack. And yes, I'm big on colors. When I was a kid, they told us to eat the rainbow, and then Skittles stole that slogan and they were very effective. It turns out that that statement is actually very scientific, that the hues in the colors of plants track with phytonutrients. So a really clever way to improve your phytonutrient intake is to try to get all the colors of the rainbow in the course of a day. And we're certainly promoting that approach inside of the app. Prebiotics are foods that are fiber and there's a ton of foods that have higher amounts of the types of fiber that gastrointestinal bacteria thrive on, particularly soluble fibers. And I think a lot of people have seen these lists, and I'm not convinced that you need to eat these specific foods, but if you're able to include more of these foods, it's a good way to increase bacterial diversity, which is what we want. We want a wide range of species living inside of our guts. And this was some really interesting and exciting research from China. They have linked higher levels of dietary fiber to decreases in depressive symptoms. And they did a mediation analysis, which looks at a midpoint per se. And it was found that the relationship between dietary fiber and depressive symptoms was mediated by C-reactive protein, which is an inflammatory marker. So just to give you a sense of the science, the state of the science, we know that there's associations between dietary fiber and mental health. And one of the mechanisms is the anti-inflammatory effect of fiber. So fiber produces positive changes in our gut ecosystem, which are anti-inflammatory and protect against intestinal permeability. And I think it's safe to say that the gut is the future. If you just focus on gut health, you will get some benefits for mental health. The question is, how can we do that without it becoming too taxing on our mind and in our daily lives? There are supplements that are recommended for depression. In the Wise Mind Nutrition app, there are some supplement recommendations based on the screening assessment. But just to give you a quick recap, again, I want to highlight that this paper was done from the Canadian Network for Mood and Anxiety Task Force. Okay, so some supplements for depression can include vitamin D, zinc, methylated folate, curcumin, omega-3, saffron, probiotics, and St. John's wort. And of course, there are others, and everyone's different, and it's so difficult to make universal supplement recommendations. But we're certainly here to help people find the right supplements for you. So welcome to the future. When we think about gut bacteria, we're thinking about the brain. When we think about gut bacteria, we don't just think about food. We also have to think about alcohol, drugs, nicotine, coffee, tea, chocolate, and of course, medications. There's been some really interesting work. A lot of it's been spearheaded from Ireland that show that medications that people take cause shifts in the gut ecosystem. And a lot of them are not favorable. So oftentimes people will come see me because of some health changes that might be related to medications. And we have to focus on gut health in order to get some resilience. So we see what we see at the surface. There's always more than meets the eye. We see trees and we see leaves and we see branches. But in functional medicine, we go beyond the surface level and we try to get to the root. Functional medicine is what we call root cause medicine. I'm trained in public health. And in public health, we don't just think about people, we think about groups. And in public health, we go beyond the root and we start to look at the entire soil. This is all the context that contributes to health and health outcomes. Let's talk about the app. Thank you so much for sticking through that introductory piece. We're going to transition now to talking about the program, starting with the free version. There is a free version of the app. It includes a food log, which I'm going to share with you, and a nightly review. So someone could come in and use the Wise Mind Nutrition food log, and you can share it with a coach or a practitioner. If you're a coach or a practitioner, you can access your client's food logs. There's definitely free admin access for at least one client. You're going to get some introductory videos, and these aren't part of the program. These are just warm-ups. They're going to introduce you to the framework, the Wise Mind Nutrition 5 components, which I'll share with you. I have some awesome cooking videos with Celestina Brunetti, some meditation videos with Jason, and there's tons of reading that supports the content and tons of recipes. I've broken down recipes by herbs and spices so people can get into anti-inflammatory eating right away. The food log is something I'm really excited to share and use with clients and practitioners. I've identified 6 food groups. So a lot of the food group systems that exist have 5. fruit, vegetable, grain, dairy, protein. I've separated beans, nuts, and seeds into its own category. These are sources of plant protein. I've been doing this in my practice for many years because I do believe beans, nuts, and seeds to be very important foods that deserve their own categorical emphasis. So when an individual logs a meal, you can upload a photo either through the app or from a photo library, and you're just going to select which of the food groups were present, okay? This allows you or your practitioner to track your distribution across the different food groups, okay? So every time someone eats, you'll indicate what food groups were there, and it starts to total up your food group distribution in real time and at the end of the day. So it's super exciting to see where people are selecting food from. There's also an opportunity to report how much one consumed. Every meal or snack asks for a self-assessment of hunger fullness. This is an important tool that encourages mindful eating. It really encourages people to build up confidence in their own internal cues rather than relying on me to tell you how much to eat. I'm teaching you how to be informed about how much to eat. And of course, there are some guiding principles about portioning in the app. Absolutely. There's a place to journal, to add some additional details. If you want to get into specifics about the meal, you can. And yes, you can start logging the food at the beginning of the meal with the photo and come back to it after. The food log has been the most helpful tool that I've ever used in 10 years of one-on-one counseling. So this is an example of someone's food log. You could see here that they've logged a couple different meals. You see the food group distribution, right? It says dinner, what food groups were present, how hungry, how full. If someone does some journaling, we can click on this button and see their thoughts, feelings, behaviors, etc. But I just want to share with you how a practitioner like me might look at something like this. We've got 4 meals that give you a total, 3 vegetables, 4 grains, 3 proteins, 3 BNS. I could see pretty quickly that there aren't any fruits here. I could see pretty quickly that dairy's missing. By the way, the food group system is universal. Dairy can be dairy alternative, okay? So it's not just cow, goat, sheep. It could be alternative milks, coconut yogurt. Proteins could be protein alternatives. So the system of the 6 food groups is universal to all forms of eaters, okay? I can also look at this food log and say, I don't see a lot of colors, right? I see a little bit of green, a little bit of red. I'm not seeing the whole rainbow spectrum. And I think that's another way that we can start to create feedback and give feedback on food logging. You can also see here that this came up in red. This person went past fullness at this particular meal. So you can get a really great snapshot. And then at the end of the day, the app prompts you to do a nightly review. And this is when you look at the total food groups that you ate throughout the day. It's basically how many times did you eat from that food group in the day. So if someone ate 4 times and they had a bean, nut, and seed at 3 of them, it shows that they are active in that food group category. So it really shows which things might be overrepresented, which things might be underrepresented. And it gives you a chance to review not only your food intake, but your eating behavior. You have a chance to review intentions that you set. So when you create your account, you can set some intentions for eating plant colors, taking your supplements, getting sleep, your bowel movements. And every night you can check in with the intentions you set, right? And then there's 2 questions that are inspired by recovery. And the first is, what could I have done better? And the second is, what corrective measures can I take tomorrow? So on the following day, you'll get prompted with the information from your nightly review. What can I do tomorrow? It's like, yeah, let's do this today. So the app has a lot of built-in reminders to help keep you on the path and stay in alignment with the intentions that you set for yourself. The free version also includes this 5 components. And again, I have so many downloadable resources in the app. You would be able to download this infographic, for example, and this just introduces the components that are covered throughout the program. We start with when to eat, thinking about meal timing, moving into what to eat and all the different approaches there, how to eat, which incorporates practices of mindful eating, soulful eating, grocery shopping, cooking, cleaning. How much to eat is definitely something people want to know. And then, of course, how to think about food, how to think about body, the concept of nutritional psychology, using principles rather than rules, bringing in joy, celebration, all of which is designed to help you build your own nutritional identity and feel confident in yourself as an eater. I've created the 12 principles of Wise Mind Nutrition I'm going to break the rules of PowerPoint presentations and just read from these slides. Hopefully you can appreciate some of them. The first principle is to not become too attached to any one way of eating, as it should evolve over your lifespan, and don't become too attached to any of the guiding principles. Instead, let them guide you. So the principle of non-attachment. Consistency with food leads to consistency with life. Welcome uncertainty into the equation. Meanwhile, try to be as consistent as possible. Remember that change is a process, not an event. So hopefully you can understand that this is more than just a nutrition program, okay? Getting the right trauma treatment can make all the difference. The embodiment of stress and adversity can create the illusion of separation. The goal of healing work is integration. Heal from the past so you can start to fully live in the present. And then I have a mantra: never hungry, never full. Striving to gain a position of neutrality where there is safety and protection, reminding ourselves that there are no active threats at this moment. Connecting with food at the store, washing and cutting produce, creating delicious meals at home is one component in healing a disordered relationship to food. I want you to access ancient wisdom. Consume a range of foods from all the different categories. You can be confident that all your nutritional needs are being met. So a big part of my job as a nutritionist is to make sure people's nutritional needs are being met, to cover all your bases, to get all the things you need for optimum physical and mental health. And that's a big part of what we're here to do. Also acknowledging that everyone's different, everyone's a bio individual, and the need for nuance is great. So the key is to balance out food groups and access all the nutrients that Mother Nature has to offer. We want to increase bacterial diversity in your gut by increasing the variety in your eating. So now that you're feeding your microbes, it's not about you anymore. I love that a lot. You want to consume plants from all the color categories to access the wide range of polyphenols that occur in nature. Instead of focusing on what to restrict, I want you to focus on what to increase. You don't need to count everything in order to thrive. I want you to abandon the math and experience food freedom, be less concerned with the quantity and more concerned with the quality. How we think about food and bodies is also an essential part of mental wellness. Making peace with the body is critical to making peace with food. There comes a time in our lives when sanity must come before vanity. And I love this so much. This is one of the real key messages in Wise Mind Nutrition. You're perfect just the way you are, and there's always room for improvement. Put positive energy in the world and positive things will come back to you. And as human beings, we have a depth to us that we often ignore or forget. We often fail to see ourselves as small parts of an integrated whole or parts of a collective consciousness. Eating represents our most profound interaction with nature daily. So we're not shy about spiritual messaging. We're not shy to get into deeper topics at Wise Mind Nutrition, right? And you have every right to act in accordance with your emerging nutritional identity. Remember who you are. We don't just live in nature, we are nature. Embrace it. So the point of the program is to improve your brain without taxing your mind. That's the key. Improve your gut, improve your brain, make it simple so that it works in accordance with your mental health goals rather than against them. So here's the program. I'm going to walk you through the topics. I want you to see this first day, food philosophy. The app kind of comes in with some personalized messaging. This is a lesson that emphasizes the importance of having an open mind. So I set the stage for the video. The videos are between 4 and 9 minutes, and they're just packed with information, references, all about the nutrition for mental health revolution. And then I have little one-liners in the videos that you can select. Let's say you heard something that you really liked. Don't get attached to any one way of eating, as it should evolve over your lifespan. And then you could pin that. You can save it in your workbook. You could look at the links, the other readings, the videos, the other content. You could pin that into your workbook. So it's really exciting because it's not just a video program, it's a workbook. And I'm going to show you the workbook in just a minute. We talk about when to eat, meal timing, sleep, beverages, my system, what to eat, the pros and cons of the macronutrient model, the tenets of nutrition for mental health, movement and activity for mental health. And again, as an eating disorder program, when I talk about things like exercise, I'm also educating people about the risk of over-exercise. So the point of Wise Mind Nutrition is to be very mindful of the tendency for people to take this information to extremes. So I'm always reeling us in and making it wise-minded. We also talk about portioning, mindful, soulful eating, hunger fullness scale, anti-inflammatory eating, gut health, bacterial diversity, get deep into the weeds around fruit, vegetables, grains, dairy alternative. This is another example of a day in the program. You could see this is anti-inflammatory eating. And you get the video that maps out the assignments. And then you could see here, there's an assignment, identify one or more anti-inflammatory foods. And then, yeah, you can come in and just type in your selections. Some of the assignments are simple sliders or radio buttons, and some of them are open-ended text boxes where you could do some work. Yeah, you can do some work on yourself and create a workbook for nutrition for mental health. You can save some gems. You can do the daily meditation, watch a quick cooking video, come in, look at some of the testing that's available, download all the PDFs, watch some more videos, and just keep learning, keep going. We also talk about protein, beans, nuts, and seeds, the importance of fat, the importance of fiber in mental health, big believer in grocery shopping and cooking, juicing, the pros and cons, once again, always talking about both sides of the coin, contemplative practices like yoga, breath work, meditation. We cover Mediterranean style eating, sustainable eating, and I have other little videos throughout the program that are little tidbits, little coaching moments, little moments of encouragement, talking about contemporary issues. And it's a chance to connect like you would working with me over the course of 6 or 8 months. And we have sustainable well-being, body image, rules, principles, excellent cooking videos with Celestina, and excellent meditation with Jason. There's also a personalized component to the program, which isn't mandatory, but highly recommended. And what I mean by that is if you wanted to get some targeted messaging and track your mental health symptoms over time, at intake, you would fill out the forms that look at ADHD, anxiety, depression, substance use disorder, eating disorder, food addiction, early life trauma, PTSD, resilience, social support, sleep. And by doing the intake process, it'll open the gates for some personalized, targeted messaging, including supplement recommendations. And then after you go through the program, when you fill out the forms again, you'll be able to see how your mental health may have improved over time. So, it's a pretty fast moving program. And, a lot of people report benefits from doing it a couple times, right? So you can do the program the first time. You don't have to do it perfectly. You assess your mental health at outcome, and you use that information as a new baseline to go through the program again, keep growing, keep glowing, and keep accessing that deep knowing. So here's the dashboard where the modules live. You can toggle between the workbook and the program. The program has all the different days and videos. And then in the workbook, when you do assignments, when you select gems, when you select links, they all get stored in the workbook. So this is a digital workbook where you could save everything from the program and essentially create your own plan throughout the month, 2 months, 3 months, and build your own meal plan. Create your own nutritional identity and experience what we call food freedom. 20 out of the 30 days have assignments. So you can see some of them are pretty basic. Select the days you want to grocery shop. Some of them are just opt-in. For example, I encourage people to eat from all 6 food groups daily. You could say yes and just make that a part of your plan, indicating how much water you want to drink, chia water, lots of different assignments, some of which are deep and based on intention setting, and some are just based on basic stuff, like what time do you want to go to bed, right? And so the assignments build out the plan, and it's super, super exciting. I've also included these gems. These are little one-liners that I've used in my practice over the years, little things that people tend to remember that brings them back to cultivate a reminder for where they are on their path and where they want to go. Little sayings, prayers, mantras, whatever you want to call them. For example, instead of focusing on what you should go low in, focus on what you should go high in. And eating represents our most profound interaction with nature daily. And then there's tons of links. So, people have come to see me one-on-one for many years, and I often share reading or videos or product recommendations, cooking guides, recipes, podcasts, other contemplative practices, a lot of resources from my functional medicine training, body positive resources. So you could see this is in the sleep module. You can come read more about supplements that are helpful, how trauma affects sleep. You can look at some products, things that I tend to recommend. And it's all here in the app, everything you might get from working with someone like me for a long period of time. And then the stats are not focused on calories or macros the way a lot of the fitness apps are. This is a chance to see how your mental health might improve over time. So every cycle through the program is a data point. So you would kind of go through the program, set some intentions, do some assignments, check your improvements, and possibly go through the program again to see how you can just keep improving. And perhaps you're a practitioner or a coach. We're going to talk about how you can use this for administrative purposes as an affiliate. So the food log and the program are free. You could just come in and use the food log as long as you want. You could come get some of those introductory videos, some of those free downloads. The full program is $29.99 a month. And as I mentioned, you could work the program as many times as you like. You stay with access to all your dashboard, your statistics. And like I said, you can start over and just do ongoing growth and improvement. The app does not permit someone to speed through the program. You have to do a nightly review in order to move forward. But this shows you how you can improve over time. And a lot of people are, I think a lot of people that are here are also treatment providers. If you stay subscribed, you can become an affiliate. And we'll talk about that in just a second. I also plan on updating the app regularly. This is the reason why I didn't do a printed workbook, because once you print a workbook, it seems stuck. I could write a whole new version. But if I hear a new podcast that's related to something I'm talking about, I'm just going to throw it right into the app. If I make a new video and there's some hot topic, I'm just going to add it into the app right away. So this is going to be an ongoing, iterative process. I'm going to do monthly webinars and give short presentations on research linking nutrition and mental health and be available for questions and answers. And if you want to become an affiliate, this is a really exciting offering and a big part of why I developed Wise Mind Nutrition. So coaches and practitioners will be able to view their clients' food logs. As I mentioned, one client is free. You can get access to their dashboard in the full program only. So if you want to stay on as a subscriber and you have a client that subscribes, you can see all their assignments. You can access their workbook. If you want to do it on a much simpler level as an affiliate, you can have access to 2 to 9 clients for $14.99 a month. This isn't access to their full dashboard, but just access to the food log and the nightly review. And I'm telling you, the nightly review is the thing. People meet with me once a week and we go back over their weeks and look at what they've done, look at positives, look at room for improvement. And the nightly review encourages someone to do that on their own. And it really forces someone into growth and evolution. If you want to have more than 10 clients and up to 29, it's the $29.99 a month. And yeah, you would just stay on as a subscriber and be able to access up to 29 clients, food logs, nightly reviews, their dashboard. And yes, this will give people an opportunity to really help people with nutrition for mental health without having to get too technical. That's my job. I'm going to share people the science. I'm going to share the recommendations, and people can go through the program. And I have a lot of therapists and psychiatrists that I work with that are really excited to have their clients go along this journey. And then, of course, institutions can inquire for details about using this with their clients. But for example, I saw a question about substance use disorder recovery. Someone who worked at a treatment center could just become a subscriber. And then you have access to the video programming, the assignments, the links, the meditations, and straight from the phone, this could be shared to a TV. And the groups can be run in treatment centers, mental health facilities, based on the videos, based on the assignments, based on the activities, based on the meditations. I'm seeing some questions come in. Does the subscription automatically expire after 1 month? Nope. The subscription stays until you downgrade. I think probably realistically, a lot of people are going to want to do the program a few times, maybe once or twice, 3 times. At some point, you can just downgrade to the free version and just use the food log, which is no. Thank you for the question, Michelle. The $29.99 is the max. Okay, $29.99 is a full access, and you can have full admin privileges. For people that want to do $14.99, that would be partial access. So you only access the food log of your clients, not necessarily the dashboard and all of the workbook information. Okay. Reminding folks that food for thought is no substitute for the real thing. So I'm a believer in eating food I'm a believer in eating real food. I'm a believer that can have a profound impact on our gut health and our mental health. I'm also a believer in eating disorder recovery. I believe that there's a way to help people with mental health without it becoming a diet, without it becoming rigid, without it becoming obsessive. And I think this is the middle path. This is the wise mind nutrition, shifting the narrative away from fat and muscles and starting to focus more on the gut and the brain, stopping to count calories, starting to count colors, starting to count our blessings, and move into recovery, which is much needed in 2023 and beyond. So I'm really excited about this paradigm shift. I see tons of questions coming in, and I want to open the door for more. So Bethany's question, if you were a practitioner, you would pay a monthly fee if you wanted access to all of their content. So if you wanted to actually oversee their workbook and be able to view their assignments, the practitioner would pay for that. A practitioner could decide to only access their food logs. Okay. So for example, if a practitioner went through the program once on their own, learned it, downgraded to $14.99 a month, you could have your clients using the food log and the food log only. And that would be free for them and you would be paying. So your clients would only pay for the subscription if they want to go through the program. They can use the food log for free. And as a practitioner, you can access their food logs, and you would pay that nominal $14.99 fee. So when will the app be available? Great question. We are at 99%. The app is currently in test flight, and I have some people looking at it. It's going to be available in May. It could be a week. It could be 2. But I promise you, if you're here at the webinar, you will be the first person to be notified. You will get an email, and you'll be able to download the app. It's so helpful if you can leave a review. I'm super open to feedback. This is my email address. I want to hear from you all. Sarah's asking about the program. If you complete the 1-month program, can you still access the data? So once you downgrade, you lose your stats and some of the data. So the downgrade moves you to the food log and the nightly review. In order to stay working the program, you would stay subscribed. And, you know, I think the amount of value that we're offering with Wise Mind Nutrition is unprecedented. I think it's safe to say that I'm offering the experience of working with me for 6 months for less than the cost of 10 minutes of counseling. And so, yeah, I think that the price point was originally way higher. And then I said, I want people to be able to access this. And I also want people to feel like you don't have to rush through it. So for example, 42 days of programming. Let's say you were going to go through the app, the program twice, and you decided that you weren't going to make yourself do it every single day. You could stay subscribed for 3 months and work the program 2 times for $90. It's an incredible, incredible offering. So yes, I'm seeing some questions about working with mental illness. Yeah, Donna, I can't wait to collaborate with you. It's very possible that you could implement this across the facility and have your clients and patients using the program and the app. It's also possible to run groups with the app and have none of your clients actually using it. So realistically, yeah, a treatment center could just subscribe for $29.99 a month and just have content, just have group content. You could do 2 or 3 days in one group, give people assignments, and it's just loaded. It's loaded with information. I just put everything I have that's worthwhile here, and I'm going to keep putting stuff in here. I'm going to keep adding to it. We're going to keep adding features. We're just going to keep making this better, and your feedback is what helps improve the quality of the app. So there will be some places in there to send me an email, to reach out. Nancy's asking if it's possible to be a user and a coach at the same time. Yes, this is exactly what I had in mind when I built Wise Mind Nutrition. I think that, yeah, going through the program enables someone to become a coach, because I'm doing most of the educating. So someone could have their client working this, getting the education, getting the recipes, getting the downloads from the app. And then you as a dietitian or as a coach could just focus on coaching the person, right? And doing some of the more meaningful healing work. And so, yes, I have conceptualized that a lot of users will want to become coaches. Someone could come in as a coach, learn the program, and decide they want their client to go through the program and support them in going through on their own. I also think that a lot of dietitians, therapists, even psychiatrists and other mental health professionals would benefit from going through the program, just to learn about gentle nutrition, learn about talking about nutrition for mental health in a way that's helpful for people. So yeah, the user coach combo is really what I designed this for. I know a lot of practitioners don't always want to take the time to go through the program, but I promise you, if you go through the program, you'll learn a lot. And there's also a transcript. I have a transcript of the entire program that has all the references. So once you get to your second cycle, you'll get the entire transcript, all the references, all the research. I'm really excited about working with some of you that want to be providers. I see some more questions coming in. From Tammy, intricately designed, refreshingly new level tool. Yes, thank you so much, Tammy B. I'm so excited for you to see this in the next week or two. And yes, Michelle asked about access on the computer. That's an important piece. When I'm doing one-on-one counseling with people over Zoom, I like to have the food log up on the web, so I'm not looking at my phone. So that's currently being built out so that it is accessible on computers in addition to the tablet and phone. Thank you all for the incredible feedback. I'm seeing a lot of people excited, a lot of thank you energies. If anyone has any other questions, I am here for it. I'm here to correspond via email. I will take your calls. You will be alerted as soon as the app is available. If you want to be a part of this movement, spread the word. Let people know that there's resources available that is safe, trauma-informed, and designed to help people move toward improved mental health and also optimal mental health. I know that I'm focused a lot on, depression, anxiety, but this food for mood and brain health framework could also be used for busy professionals, executives, people that want to take their brain health to the next level. So there's a wide range of possible people that could benefit from this app. It's not just people in treatment and recovery, although I will say that the messaging is designed for people that are on a healing journey. It definitely has that energy. Okay, more excitement, more thank yous. I have a question about the
David,
person.
real quick,
Yes.
sorry. As the presentation was going on, a lot of people had the same question about access to this presentation and whether or not we'll be automatically sending out a link or how that can be accessed.
Yeah, so I'm going to, the presentation was recorded and I will definitely send out a link to the video of today within a few days, probably a week at the most. And so everyone that was here and everyone that attended will get that. Everyone who registered and didn't attend will also get that. Someone asked about the individual who cares to improve mental health through nutrition. This is what this is what this is built for. This is why we built Wise Mind Nutrition. You can come in as an individual who wants to use nutrition to improve mental health and just learn all the facets of it, all the research, and start taking baby steps. That's what it is. It's a collection of baby steps that turn into giant strides. So this really is for individuals, and I've added the functionality for practitioners. Okay, Michelle's giving some very positive feedback. I have some more questions about introducing the app to a company in a corporate gym environment. I think it'll be a hard sell in the fitness world. I do think that if the upper management of certain facilities are aware of how math-centric nutrition can be harmful, I do believe that we can get decision makers to roll this approach out rather than the fitness macro approach. I just know that a lot of people want to stick with calories and macros, and there's nothing wrong with that. Wise Mind Nutrition is an alternative for people that have either done that and don't like it, has created problems for them, or just don't have a mind that's so focused on numbers, right? Which I think is super important. Dorot's asking about my next presentation. I'm actually doing a presentation on Tuesday at 10 a.m. On depression and depressive symptoms. If anyone wants to join that, it's a much deeper dive into nutrition for depression. That's on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Kim's asking about the number of clients, if it's going to be revolving. That's a great question that I haven't been able to answer yet. So I'll bookmark that, Kim. There's a couple final details that we're working out in this last week or a few weeks. Kelly's asking about food lists. Yeah, I have so much examples in the program, right? You will definitely be able to look at examples, and then I've highlighted top picks for mental health. So being able to identify foods in each food group system that have evidence supporting its role in gut health and brain health. And like I said, so many downloads. If you're a practitioner, it would be smart to just come in, do the app, and just come get all the downloads. That's what I would do. If someone made this app and put all their downloads in the app, I would just subscribe, just download everything. I would do that so fast. And yes, can someone send the link to someone who is not present? Yeah, your daughter at who's a psychiatrist. Yes, you will be able to forward this link. And yeah, share it widely, because there's a paradigm shift happening. Like I said, you're a part of it. I'm very excited to be a part of it. And we need, we need more champions in the United States. And I want you to be a champion. If you want to become an affiliate and build your practice around Wise Mind Nutrition, start a coaching practice, helping people use nutrition for mental health and accessing their workbook and dashboard, I will work with you. I will help you build that into your practice. Yes, someone's asking about sharing it with other alliances. Yes, please share the recording as much as you can. Some feedback about implementing it in SUD treatment. Someone that purchased my original curriculum. Yeah, I built curriculum for substance use disorder treatment many years ago, and they were mostly, PowerPoints and activities. And I think with the pandemic, we learned pretty quickly that people need more stimulating education. So yeah, we've made all these videos, and the videos are very high level. I used a professional production agency. So there's really good programming, captions on screen, a lot of text, very clear. Some of it's a little scientific. I want to share that. Some of it's a little scientific. And the reason that I did that was because I was expecting some of you practitioners to want to learn from this as well. So I do include scientific papers here and there, but I don't suffocate people with data. If you want to email me at the email thing on screen, I will send you a link to the depression talk on Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific. Dorinda's asking about starting with the free membership. Yeah, that's what I recommend. Start with the free membership, use the food log, use the nightly review. Those first 8 days of videos are just intros. I'm basically telling you what I'm going to be talking about, giving you some free resources. And you could see if you like the energy, if you like the message, if you like the vibe, and then you say, you know what, I want to try this program out, and then just unlock all the different features. I'm getting some really positive feedback, just flooding in the question and answer. Thank you, Peaches. Thank you, Kathy. Wow. Someone's asking about app subscriptions. Yeah, I do think that people can use this as part of their practice. I'm going to transition to my practice being very much only for people that are using the app. I don't think that everyone that I see will use the app, but eventually I'm only going to work with people that are going through the program. But I do think that seeing someone like me, a dietitian, someone like you, if you're here and doing the program, is really the ultimate, right? So if someone is meeting with a practitioner weekly, going through the 30-day program, you're going to get so much support. And it makes the job of the practitioner a little bit easier because a lot of the information has been streamlined. And yeah, so for example, someone might come to see me. I'll do a comprehensive intake, evaluation, assessment, figure out what, supplements might be helpful, what advice I can give, get someone started on the program, and then just start meeting and talking about their work, making sure that they're getting all the resources, and then doing the thing that I love to do, which is body image counseling, talking about, weight science, doing functional lab testing. So if someone were to come in and do the program and then meet with me and do, a NutriVal, an MRT test, and a stool test, you're going to get the ultimate nutrition for mental health experience. And if you're a practitioner and you offer these things as well, I'm here to help you build this into your program. And Bethany says, I've made it extremely affordable. Thank you for your help. That's the whole piece. I'm trained in public health. I'm here to make this affordable so we can reach more people. And I mean, technically, you could go through the program in, a month, and that's it. Get everything for $29.99. Hopefully you'll see the value of staying on and continuing to track your improvements. I'm not sure about Tuesday's recording. Yeah. Okay. More positive feedback. Thank you so much. We're speaking the same language. Yeah. Thank you for the positive feedback. Any final questions? You guys were incredible, sticking out. We had such a great turnout from all over the world. Like I mentioned, this will be emailed. You can email me directly. Please follow on Instagram at WiseMind Nutrition. We also have a YouTube. The TikTok is wise_mind_nutrition. We got some great content every day. And someone's asking about becoming a client. Please send me an email. I'll be happy to work with you, happy to help with you. We have RDs in the house. Yeah, a lot of RDs. I can't wait to help you build this into your treatment center or to your practice. Someone's asking about testing. Yeah, some people can come in with their tests already done. There's certain testing that I'm way more comfortable interpreting than others. Thank you all so much for being here. This has really been, we have a dietetic technician. Very cool, Robbie. I do use some MRT testing when it's clinically appropriate. Absolutely. I've been working on this for 2 years. It's been an iterative process. This has been harder than my PhD dissertation. I want to share that with everyone. And that's why it's so exciting to have it all come together in May 2023 and become available for widespread use. And thank you for being a part of the movement. Thank you all for joining us today. And I hope to hear from some of you. Someone's asking about purchasing the curriculum from 6-7 years ago. CLT also. Awesome, Michelle. Yeah, I think the curriculum that I created 5 or 6 years ago is a lot of PowerPoint. So it really depends on the environment. It's more customizable, I'll say. The curriculum, the PowerPoint presentations, you can modify for your population. The videos that I have here aren't as customizable. So I do think that having both would just be the ultimate. I learned that when you can give a PowerPoint, show a video, do an activity, give people an assignment, they're going to get a really good, meaningful group level experience. Someone's asking about the recording. Yes, everyone will get this recording. Please feel free to share widely. And thank you all for being here. I'm going to stop recording. This was such a pleasure, and I look forward to hearing from some of you.